The night I caught my husband cheating, I swore I'd make them taste betrayal in the exact same measure. I woke up in my cousin's body, only to find my husband in bed beside her. Chase was already peeling off the designer briefs I'd bought him, crawling over me like a starved wolf. His pupils glittered. "Your cousin's out of town tonight. Nobody to interrupt us." "That's fine. I'll make my move. Watch me flick one tiny spark and let the dogs rip each other to tatters." But before we go on, smash that subscribe button and drop a comment telling us where you're listening from. Ever since the miscarriage, Chase and I hadn't touched once. Now, with the full weight of his gym-sculpted frame pressing me into the mattress, instinct took over. I hooked my arms around his neck and arched upward. His hot breath scraped my ear. "Vivian, I've been dying for this." "Vivian." My brain froze. "What did you just call me? Who's Vivian?" Chase gave a low, fond laugh and pinched my waist. "Silly girl, forgetting your own name?" "Vivian, my cousin's name." Wait, the bedroom decor was wrong. Something felt off. I snatched the phone from the nightstand, flipped to selfie mode, and the face on the screen slammed the truth through me like a rail spike. I'd traded bodies with Vivian, and the man pawing at me was my husband. The overload crushed every nerve. For a second the room tunneled to black. Only the mattress kept me from crumpling. "Don't tip them off," reason hissed. "Fate handed you this switch for one reason: expose the bastard. From this second on, I'm on the hunt for payback." Chase clung to me, really, to Vivian's body he thought was Vivian, for another full hour. Irony of ironies, 3 months since the miscarriage. Chase had sworn my body still needed rest, denying sex again and again. Translation: Chase had been feasting elsewhere. He'd never been gentler. Afterward he carried me to the walk-in shower, swaddled me in a cloud-soft towel, and set me on the vanity stool like fragile glass. He grinned like a kid on Christmas morning. "Vivian, tomorrow we tour condos in Beverly Hills. If the inspection's clean, we close next week." Lightning cracked behind my eyes. Only the marble counter kept me from sliding to the floor. Hadn't Chase moaned that the market crash froze every project? That payroll was empty. That we'd skipped salaries for months. Yet here he was, house hunting with Vivian, funneling our money to my cousin, his side piece. "You okay, babe? Low blood sugar again?" Chase fished a caramel from the drawer, unwrapped it, slid it between my teeth. Creamy sweetness coated my tongue, turning to bile on the way down, because his palm was already stroking the flat of my borrowed belly. "Take care of yourself, little mama. You're eating for 2 now." I almost laughed myself sick. Chase's sperm count was medical grade 0. Even if a miracle struck, the embryo would self-terminate before 8 weeks, exactly what had happened to me. I'd hidden the truth to spare him grief. Look at him, proud and clueless, wearing a neon green halo he can't even see. Chase hovered until I drained the glass of milk, then lumbered off to the guest room. His snores rattled the windows. Vivian's a light sleeper, always has been. How do I know? I invited the wolf inside. Freshman year, new city. Of course I told her to crash at our place on weekends. One thing led to another until a crash became a hookup. She'd giggled over brunch, "'Cause I could never marry someone like Chase. Snores like a freight train. Kills my beauty sleep." Right. Beauty sleep, yet somehow sleep never cramped her style. Even I'm impressed how fast I cooled my rage. I scanned the closet. Hermes, Chanel, Dior, every label screaming rent money for a year. The apartment sat on the top floor of Manhattan's newest glass tower, Chase's signature gesture. Half the bags were twins of mine. He'd bought in bulk. One for wife, one for mistress. My stomach lurched. I swallowed vomit. Thumbprint opened her phone. I combed every app. No trace of a possible baby daddy. Revenge is a slow cook. Exhaustion knocked me out early. The bang 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 on the door snapped me awake. I'd barely cracked it when a palm smashed across my cheek. Slut. That voice, who else could it be but me? Except the shell in front of me now housed Vivian's shrieking soul. Eyes bloodshot. She clawed my collar. "You're Serena, aren't you? What black magic did you use? Switch us back. You think stealing my body will win Chase back?" Delicious triumph flashed in me, but the echo of elevator ding turned it to water. I widened my eyes, voice trembling. "Cousin, what are you saying? I don't understand." "Stop faking." Serena. What the hell? Vivian yanked my hair, but Chase stepped out of the elevator, takeout breakfast in hand. He hurled himself between us, shoving her off balance. She stumbled, mouth bleeding frustration, while Chase cupped my shoulders. "You okay, baby? Cramping? Anything?" I shook my head, tears shimmering. "I didn't do anything. She just hit me." Vivian bit her lips so hard I tasted iron. Words bubbled up, she swallowed them, switching to my own icy calm. Chase, why are you even here? Panic flashed in Chase's eyes. I seized the moment, forced out a few tears, and looked perfectly pitiful. Cousin, you've got it all wrong, I sniffed. Your birthday's coming up and Chase wanted to surprise you, but he's a total guy, he has no idea what you'd like, so he asked me for help. But I never imagined that you'd actually think I was the other woman. I sobbed, tears falling like snapped pearls, until the neighbors poked their heads into the hallway. Your mom is my real aunt. I'm only 19 and Chase is past 30. How could you even think that? This was an apartment building, a dozen units to a floor, and the raw stares of the crowd mortified Chase. His face black. He snapped, Serena, you're spoiled on a good day, but I never thought you'd stoop to this kind of hysteria. My cousin, unused to such treatment, went red-rimmed instantly. Chase, you're yelling at me. She looked ready to tear me limb from limb, but her status stopped her. She could hardly confess to being the mistress. Disgraceful creature, come with me. She had no choice but to let Chase drag her downstairs by the wrist. Back inside, I received her text. Don't gloat, cousin. And don't forget, I'm the legal wife now. Men always come home in the end, no matter how they play outside. But the young, so often, ruin themselves by lacking patience. I'd installed surveillance at home. A quick login let me watch remotely. Sprawled on the couch, AC humming, fruit in hand. I enjoyed the show as cousin and Chase tore into each other. Stop the act. I know every dirty thing you've done. Arms folded, cousin delivered her ultimatum. Chase, apologize now. Get back every dollar you blew on her, and we can still fix this. As expected, Chase exploded. What the hell are you babbling about? I'm babbling? She detonated. Don't you remember what you did? You walked out of her room this morning. Get this straight. You're the one who screwed up, and I'm giving you a chance. Don't act like I'm the guilty one here. If you've got nothing better to do, get a job. Stop sniffing around like a psycho every day. Chase couldn't be bothered. He spun to leave. She blocked him, refusing to budge. You're not walking out until... Chase shoved her hard. Her head slammed the table edge, a lump rising instantly. She wailed, but the only answer was the slam of the bedroom door. Tisk. Poor thing, I murmured, whether for Cousin Vivian or for myself. I wasn't sure. After all, in Chase's mind, the woman he just pushed was me, Serena. I counted to 3 in my head. The call from Cousin came exactly on cue. Enjoying yourself. I'm telling everyone, she screamed. Serena, Chase is mine. You'll never win. I hung up, unwilling to waste breath. That night she spilled everything to Chase. On camera, I watched her sob snot and tears into his shirt. It's me, Chase. Vivian. Serena and I switched souls. It sounds insane, but it's true. Serena's evil. She used some trick to turn us against each other. And now she wants to hurt our baby. Serena. Read fewer novels, Chase snapped. Disgust flashing across his face as he shoved her away. I told you, Vivian and I are innocent. She's 19. Still a kid. How could you smear her like this? Cousin ran to my mother next, but I'd already beaten her to the punch. Auntie, Cousin Serena's been acting strange, I said on the phone. She keeps imagining someone seducing Chase. I think it's postpartum depression. If she calls saying crazy things, please don't take it to heart. Just give her extra care and treatment. Thanks to Cousin's perfect grades in psychology at Stanford. To my relatives in rural Ohio, she was an authority. She tried her own mother after that. Forgetting I now occupied the role of a Vivian, no amount of talking from her beat one pointed look from me. I said I'm not sick. Why won't anyone believe me? The Vivian you see is Serena. Serena is the real Vivian. My cousin did this when they hauled her into a Los Angeles psychiatric clinic. She was on the edge of collapse. The evaluation concluded she suffered not only depression but delusional tendencies. After a miscarriage, the doctor explained, some women grieve so hard they fantasize. A few insist their baby is still alive. But imagining you're another person is classic morbid jealousy. She probably envies her cousin, young, pretty, so she, halfway through, Cousin slammed the table and sprang up. Hilarious. I keep saying I'm Vivian, why would I envy myself? If you're too incompetent to diagnose, get lost. To everyone else, this was pure mania. When she tried to leave, the family blocked her. The scuffle almost wrecked the office. A sedative injection settled it. The doctor sighed. If necessary, inpatient care is an option. As if I'd ever lock myself away. I shook my head, eyes red as I looked at Chase. I believe Cousin will recover. Give her another chance. Chase. My mother nearly wept with guilt. Vivian is such a good girl. Serena has wronged you. I squeezed her hand, pretending to wipe tears. Cousin, don't be scared. You'll get better. In the shadowed corner, I leaned to cousin's ear and whispered, frost in my voice, if you don't want a one-way ticket to the psych ward, I'd advise you to behave. Understood? With cousin neutralized. It was finally the turn of my cheating husband Chase. Truth be told, if my husband hadn't cheated, living as Vivian wouldn't have been half bad. Chase and I were college sweethearts. During the college entrance season, I deliberately left 2 major questions blank just to stay in the same city as him, and I ended up stuck at a small private college outside New York City. These past few days Chase had been away on a business trip to Chicago, so I'd finally tasted the campus life I'd always dreamed of. One afternoon I got a debt collection text from a stranger. At first I figured it was a scam and ignored it, but after class a handful of hulking guys cornered me. Pretty thing, deadline's passed. Why haven't you paid up? Planning to stiff us? I tried to leave, but they wouldn't let me. The man's gaze slid to the curve under my blouse and shone with sleazy hunger. Don't forget, we've got leverage on you. He waggled his phone, a nude selfie with Vivian's face on it. If the cash still isn't here, this photo goes to everyone you know. You care about your rep, right? We'll ruin it. I never imagined my well-behaved little cousin was out here taking nude for cash loans. No, my face drained of color. Please, don't. I'll scrape the money together, just a few more days. Okay, I can give you time, but my boss won't. The bald ringleader stepped up and grabbed my butt. I shrieked, makeup streaking. To them my terror looked like flirtation. Baby, spend the night warming my bed and I'll put in a good word with the boss. Let's see if the real thing matches the picture. Even prettier than the photo. Huh? They lunged to strip me. I swung my bag wild. Back off. I'll call the cops. My screams drew a crowd. They backed off, snarling. You've got guts. Better pay up or your name's mud. I stumbled back to the dorm and combed through every loan app. Vivian had borrowed to pay loans and now owed over $500,000. Good God. What had she blown it on? That night, after my shower, I casually chatted with my roommate, and a bombshell dropped. She flipped her calendar. Vivian, it's almost D-Day, right? I played dumb. Huh? The day your boyfriend gets out of Orange County Jail, she blurted. How could you forget? So, after the online debts, my cousin also had a felon boyfriend, father of the baby in her belly. I kept my shock hidden and fished for details. The guy's name was Jax, a punk she'd met in middle school. Brawls and mayhem were his hobbies. He'd been tossed back inside a few days ago for drunk and disorderly, and the settlement he owed was huge. A small-time thug with no steady job. He obviously couldn't pay. Vivian had covered it. Where did her money come from? Loans and, of course, begging Chase. So Chase was playing proud daddy to another man's son and bankroll to that man himself. Well, I almost laughed out loud. My phone pinged Chase on iMessage. Babe, have the down payment ready. When I'm back we'll buy the condo. Title in your name. So my cousin had already burned the down payment money too. TSK. Chase thought he was building a shiny new family. Little did he know he'd fallen into a bonfire. Of course I couldn't let Chase find out the account was empty. I typed, been kind of tired lately, let's wait a bit. Across the screen I could almost see his worried frown. What's wrong? Is the baby acting up? I told you to take a semester off. Your health comes first. I've ordered some supplements, already on the way. My nails dug crescents into my palms, the sting almost bringing tears. I remembered the early startup days when I collapsed from overwork. He'd never fussed like this. I'd told myself he just wasn't the doting type. Now I saw he simply hadn't loved me. Thanks, honey. A little rest and I'll be fine. Blush emoji. I wrote in Vivian's voice. According to the mommy app she was 3 months along, right around the time I'd miscarried. How poetic. While I sobbed over our lost child, my darling husband was in another woman's bed, lost in ecstasy, even though the baby wasn't his. The timeline fooled him perfectly. Fine, if heaven had let my cousin and me swap bodies, it meant to give me weapons. I'd make sure those two suffered. Saturday, Jax's release day. I spotted the bleached mop of hair at once. He strode over, hooked an arm around my waist, and kissed my belly. Missed me, little man? He dragged me to a club in downtown LA. The music hammered my skull. Under the strobing lights, I had to admit his rough features held a rake's elegance. Miss me? Before I could answer his mouth covered mine, tasting of chilled sake. The guy kissed circles around Chase. His tongue coiled with mine and I nearly melted. Then his next words froze me solid. Has the fish taken the bait? He blew a smoke ring. Almost. I coughed and let my eyes glisten. But lately. But what? I hesitated. Jax's temper flared. Spit it out. I trembled. Chase is starting to think I'm cheating. He said if I am, he'll hack the guy to death first. Then me. Jax. I'm scared. As I spoke, I studied his face. A flash of murderous cold shot through his eyes. Then, crack. He smashed the beer bottle in his hand. Shards of glass exploded across the floor. Bullshit. Nobody touches my woman. Nobody. I'll kill the bastard. Tears of gratitude slipped down my cheeks. I nestled into his chest. Jax. Hearing you say that, I feel safe. Jax smiled, pleased, and pulled a flash drive from his pocket. Plug this into the old man's office computer. I checked. His little tech project could fetch millions on the market. Once we cash out, we take our little family and vanish to Mexico. He stroked my hair gently. Then I'll stay out of trouble for good. Stay by your side. Sound good? Good. My ass. Good as your grandma's apple pie. You can toy with Chase all you want, but that company is the baby we raised together. Every dollar in his pocket is community property, and I have every right to claw it back. Let the curtain rise. Next day, Chase returned from his business trip. I'd hidden in his office at the company's San Francisco headquarters ahead of time. The moment he pushed the door open, I crawled out from under the desk, flowers in hand, and threw myself into his arms. Surprise. Shock outweighed delight. Chase slammed the door, peeked back into the corridor to be sure no one had seen, then exhaled. A trace of reproach crept into his voice. You could have warned me. I just wanted it to be special. I pouted, on the verge of tears. Or do I embarrass you? If you're so ashamed of me and the baby, why did you ever hook up with me? Predictably, Chase melted. Oh, baby, no. I just worry your cousin might storm in and hurt you. Or the kid. Kid. Always the kid. Wonder how he'll feel when he learns the kid isn't his. Swallowing my disgust, I asked, so, did you miss me? He pulled me tight and started tugging at my clothes. You little devil. Who else would I miss? I caught his hands and steered him toward the desk. Hold on. I brought your favorite food. Eat first. You're so thoughtful. So much better than your cousin. Chase kissed me. Inside, I sneered. In the startup days, he'd vomited blood from too many toasts. I'd brewed sober-up soup at 3 a.m. Worried takeout was unhealthy. Cooked him new dishes daily, my slender fingers scarred by hot oil splashes. Now some bimbo spends his money on hotel room service and he's almost crying with gratitude. Men, pathetic. I didn't forget the real task. While Chase ate, I stared at my phone, faking distraction. Anytime his gaze flicked over, I killed the screen, putting on a perfect show of hiding something. When he asked, I said it was nothing, but my eyes were red. Obviously something was wrong. I'm going to the restroom. Through the closed door, knowing Chase was eavesdropping, I let my voice tremble. Please, stop. I really love Chase. I can't betray him. I stepped out with tears still clinging to my lashes. When Chase questioned me, I casually wiped them away. It's nothing. Probably the wind. The window was shut. There wasn't any wind. Suspicion brewed in Chase's eyes. But he said nothing. He stepped out for a meeting. I timed it so the moment he returned he caught me sliding the flash drive into his laptop. Coupled with what he'd just overheard, he knew this was bad. Vivian, what the hell are you doing? I collapsed on the floor, sobbing. I didn't want to. He forced me. Under pressure. I painted Jax as the Monster X. Gambling debts, my nudes in his grip, the down payment on the condo gone to his blackmail. If I didn't steal company secrets, he'd plaster my photos online and ruin me. I can handle people laughing, but our son. I hurled myself toward the desk corner. I might as well die. Of course it was theater. Chase caught me and I sagged into his arms. Shock morphed into fury. My naked pictures in another man's phone. He hated that. But I was the mother of his child. Threatening me was threatening his son. Son of a bitch wants to die. Chase stormed out, pausing only to yank a sharpened switchblade from the drawer. Minutes later the hospital called. Jax had been hit by a car. I promised to rush over, but after hanging up my lips curled in triumph, I opened an app and wired $20,000. Babe, I had someone check. It was Chase who ran you over. He must have found out about us and tried to shut you up. Sob. Jax says I have to bring him your company files or he'll kill me. I almost applauded my own acting. I should have gone to Hollywood. I knew Chase was a coward. Jax, on the other hand, was the kind who danced on knife edges. When the timing felt right, I slipped into the hospital disguised as a cleaner. Sure enough, Chase appeared, clutching the blade. He only meant to scare him, but Jax was blazing mad. Even through the door I could hear them roaring at each other. Then, in the crowd, Crack. I saw Jax wrench the knife away and plunge it straight into Chase's lower abdomen. Crimson bloomed across Chase's shirt. What are you staring at? Never seen a man get stabbed. Jax bellowed. Realization hit. His hand spasmed and the knife clattered to the floor. It was obvious Jax was your everyday scumbag, but actually drawing blood and hurting someone, this was his first time. He hired a hitman to kill me first, and he came at me with a knife. I was defending myself. You all saw it. He attacked me first. He protested, face flushed with panic. But there were too many eyewitnesses, and every one of them saw Chase do nothing more than curse him out a little. The EMTs arrived fast, but Chase's internal organs had been hit. He lost massive amounts of blood and almost didn't make it off the operating table. After hours of emergency surgery, they saved his life, but the doctor said he'd have to live with a colostomy bag from now on, essentially disabled. Jax's injuries were minor. The cops took him straight to the station. I was summoned to give a statement. I simply said everything had been my speculation, that Jax had misheard. In the end, he was the one who'd actually stabbed someone, and after a lecture they let me go. Sounds satisfying, right? But I couldn't stay in Vivian's body forever. When I yanked her off the bed, my cousin was still half asleep. Lately she'd been force-fed antidepressants, and her mind stayed foggy. Serena, if you want to be me, go right ahead. Why come crawling back? Let me guess, Jax is out of jail. I'm telling you, he's a demon. Once he latches on, your life is over. She cackled like a maniac. And the little bastard in my belly. I was racking my brain trying to get rid of them. Perfect. You're going to hell in my place. She went on, saying she'd seen the light. Her current life wasn't so bad. And men, worthless. She'd only gotten close to Chase for his money. He's in ICU, I said flatly. My cousin froze, then forced a grin. Then from now on the money's all. Jax committed intentional homicide, I cut in. She stared, dumbstruck. I smiled, ice cold. Tell me, who do you think orchestrated all this? You know me, I always repay a favor, down to the last cent. Vivian spun to run. I grabbed her collar and hauled her back, pressed an ether-soaked handkerchief to her mouth. In seconds she blacked out. Team, all systems ready. We can begin the consciousness transfer protocol. I lay on the cold table, high-tech machines humming around me. Yes, this was the project my company had been developing for years. Consciousness transfer. Every mind can be encoded as data. The body merely a vessel. Swap the data and you swap the bodies. I'd long suspected my cousin and Chase were sleeping together, but my pesky conscience kept insisting it was paranoia. So the next time Vivian came over, I knocked her out, brought her to the lab in Seattle, and initiated the swap with myself. Where am I? Why am I tied down? Help, somebody. See, she was awake. I turned my head and met her terrified stare. I'm giving you your identity back. How does that sound? She thrashed, but the restraints held. A tech pressed the button. My mind blanked for an instant. I never hired a killer. I've been framed. It's her. That bitch. She used sci-fi voodoo to swap our bodies and did every evil thing. When the police dragged Vivian away, I made sure the whole family was present. My cousin's eyes bored into me. Murderous. She kept screaming that I'd used cutting-edge tech to steal her body and commit monstrous crimes. But who'd believe a story like that? After all, the project was my secret. Besides me, only a handful of trusted engineers even knew it existed. I sobbed, tears streaming. Vivian, I know you've always wanted Chase, but to smear me like this, we're flesh and blood, and the baby you're carrying, his father may be a murderer, but you can still turn your life around. Don't let your child enter the world never knowing either parent. I raised my voice on purpose. Auntie heard, nearly fainted from rage, and finally swung a slap that cracked across Vivian's cheek. How could you disgrace us? You've shamed the entire Carter family. Our family is cursed. Serena, we're so sorry. My aunt, a proud woman, was mortified. She cowed out again and again on the floor, begging my forgiveness. One person's crime, one person's debt. Vivian was handled. My aunt was pitiable, so I let it go. Later, I gathered every intimate photo and video of her and Chase, along with receipts for the gifts he'd bought, and filed for divorce in New York. The lawsuit dragged on, but I won. Chase walked away with nothing, and I voted him out of the company. As for the money he'd squandered on Vivian, my aunt paid me back out of her own pocket. Jax received 3 years for aggravated assault. I heard he signed a settlement letter for Vivian's case. Since I'd only meant to set him and Chase at each other's throats, not to kill. Vivian would be out in a year or 18 months at most. Not long, but enough to ruin her reputation. Stanford expelled her. From here on, she's harmless. And me, I'm back on the hunt for true love, a rich, gorgeous. No reason to let one lousy marriage wreck my faith in romance. Still, men can be poison, handle with caution. Thanks for listening to today's story. If you liked the video, smash that like button and share it with your friends. We can't wait to read your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stories. See you next episode.